Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. We are having this conversation on World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day under the theme Keeping Humanity Alive. We're very happy to be speaking with Disaster Management Coordinator Stefan Kishore. Thank you for making the time, Mr. Kishore, especially on this day. But let's talk about the day a little bit and what it means, its significance. Thank you.
Okay, so today we celebrate World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day with the theme, Keeping Humanity Alive. So it is very applicable, as you know, all the crises that are going on globally. So thinking back to when the Red Cross, we are over 160 years. In 1863, Henry Dunant, our founder, established the Red Cross movement. In 1859, he would have witnessed something called the Battle of Solferino, and he would have wrote a book about the memories of Solferino, and he would have gotten some of his business comrades together. And really, when he was in that experience, he mobilized volunteers from the community to be the first, first aiders, providing aid to those injured on the battlefield. And that's really where the Red Cross movement started. So in 1863, the first international committee came together for the Red Cross movement. And as we continue to support crises, be it conflict, armed conflict, natural disasters, we have the climate change issues, social issues. They thought it necessary back way in the early 1900s to have a day to celebrate or to promote humanitarian values. So Henry Dunant being the first winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, they thought it being fitting to have a day to celebrate globally the Red Cross movement. So we select May 8th because that's his birthday actually. So in 1948, we would have celebrated the first global World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day. And since then, we use that day to highlight to the world, because we are the largest humanitarian organization in the world with over 16 million volunteers globally, the work that we do. So it's a good opportunity to highlight, all the crises and how people can get involved, because we're really built on the strength of volunteers. We want people to see the need, see the benefit of joining the Red Cross and giving back to humanity.
But we'll get back to that spirit of volunteerism in just a bit, but I'm very glad that you laid that groundwork and that context and gave us history behind it. But looking at context as well, I think many people sometimes stop at Red Cross. So give me the significance of saying Red Cross and Red Crescent. Thank you.
Right. So people always think Red Cross, and what's the first thing come to mind? A religious organization, right? People think of the cross, and then when we have the crescent, you think of Islam. So the symbols that we have, our cross and our crescent, has nothing to do with religion. Actually, the cross, because it's called Red Cross, Henry Dunant being a Swiss citizen from Switzerland, in honor of him again, it was the reverse of the Swiss flag. So our emblem actually came from that. The Swiss being a white cross on a red background, and our cross being the red cross on the white background. So it's actually enshrined and protected by the Geneva Conventions that our emblems are protected symbols, to really make sure that you identify the humanitarian personnel working in the field. You would also notice the military using these emblems as well, because it's actually the Geneva Conventions were designed to protect military personnel, medical personnel specifically, on the battlefield, so that they don't, they don't become targets. So the cross and the crescent, now generally because we had the cross as the first symbol, a lot of the Islamic countries, when they joined the movement, didn't want to wear the cross as a symbol, so that we have the crescent being added to it. We also have a universal symbol, because we have countries that are neither mainly Christian or Islamic, so we have the red diamond, right, or the red crystal as the third protective emblem. So you can't just think of a cross, it has to have a very specific dimension. It must sit on a white background, it must be red. And the only organizations that are able to use it is the Red Cross national societies in the country, or the military forces. A lot of people misuse the emblem. You see it at doctors' offices and all different kinds of things, indicating, but we try to have education around it, that it is a protected thing by law. Right? Even our own Geneva Conventions Act in Trinidad, really protects the emblem. So the reason behind the crescent, because of the Islamic countries that joined, and because we're a universal organization, we also want to promote, so we have the red crystal for countries that don't want to use a cross or a crescent, they have the option. And right now we only have one country that has a red crystal, that being Israel. Their national symbol is the red Star of David, but globally they would use the red crystal as their official protected emblem.
Now, this is a good day when you learn something. I think today was a great day because I had that connotation in mind as well, and I knew nothing about the red crystal. So I'm very grateful that we're having this conversation. But in terms of that education or the educational aspect, there's interaction with persons from schools or people from schools going on. So what is happening on the ground in Trinidad and Tobago today?
In terms of keeping the theme, keeping humanity alive, we're really trying to showcase the importance. We just happen to be in National Disaster Preparedness and Prevention Month, so I just want to make that plug that we are working, on a big drive to educate the communities that need the help. That education part, we have a lot of schools present because, of course, we're looking at the change agents, right? So educating the youth, building that culture of disaster preparedness, about humanity, about volunteerism at the youth, so that when they grow up, they become the next generation of volunteers and members of the Red Cross movement, so that we have the continuity. So we have more than 260 students from schools from within the area in Port of Spain and environs coming today to see the work and the programs that we do. And then as well, we have a display happening for the month at the Rotunda Gallery at Parliament, so persons could see all the great work that we don't just do locally, but internationally as well.
I want to talk about some of that international work, but staying with the day though, when the school children come in, what are some of the things that they're engaging with? What are some of the things that they're seeing in terms of displays and possibly being able to do for themselves as well?
Right, yeah. So definitely a big drive on disaster preparedness. So, we have a Red Cross motto, be Red Cross ready, which is getting a kit, making a plan, and being informed. So we're talking about how you put together your disaster preparedness kit. So we have our partners from ODPM as well, emphasizing some of the topics there. We have our partners from the disaster management unit showing the kids how to, build a sandbag wall if they have to, protect themselves from flood, so that this is information that they're going to go back home and share with their parents. We have a lot of partners here also talking, and we're also talking about our health, right? Our health being a huge topic across the board. So we have our programs on nutrition education. So we're making sure kids understand the benefits of a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. We have a lot of psychological support programs that we're running as part of our health services. So kids learning how to deal with their emotions. And then they also have, through our partnership with the regional health authority, so they're getting their basic health testing done if they need to, and as well as their teachers and the adults who are coming in as well.
How important is that work between partners? Because sometimes it feels as though people can want to be in silos, alone to themselves. Okay, well, when this happens, we will come in, as opposed to have this all hands on deck approach, so that something is dealt with from different aspects, different levels of resources, different capacity in terms of we know what to do, we have this capability. So how does that play into the work that you do?
Yeah, so it's very important that you realize one organization can't do it alone. And the Red Cross is very unique. People think of us as like another NGO, but we're not. We're actually an auxiliary to the state. We were created by an act of parliament that gives us that independence to work with state agencies and civil society, but we're not, as an organization, an NGO. We're not governed by the laws that govern NGOs. We're very unique in that space. But because of our auxiliary status, it's about how we work with state agencies to get the job done. So our real mission is to identify gaps that exist within public authorities, within the programs that are happening for social services and things like that. And then design our own programs and secure our own funding to be able to do programs that can fill those gaps.
And with that, we take a short break. We are learning so much about the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society. On the day itself, we come back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back. We are having a conversation looking at the Red Cross and Red Crescent Society. We're doing so with Disaster Management Coordinator Stephen Kishore. And on the day itself, or in the first half of the conversation, you were talking about that spirit of volunteerism. Where is the lay of the land now? Do you find many people wanting to find out about Red Cross and Red Crescent Society, wanting to be a part of it? How early can people, because I think there are different levels that people, different entryways, right?
Correct. So you've seen in our expos on the field, we have a lot of youth, right? And they're in their Red Cross uniform. So as early as standard 3, in primary schools, we can join the Red Cross Links. Right, that's a program that we have right now in over 300 primary schools, and that's through our MOU with the Ministry of Education. So we have 2 teachers in each of those 300 schools that have been taught our program in basic first aid, disaster preparedness, community health, and humanitarian values. And they have 1 hour per week, ministry approved, to roll out that program in these primary schools. After that, at the secondary school level, we have a program called Trailblazers, and this is in about 8 schools right now, and we have about 40 schools that have shown interest. So by the end of this year, we will have 40 new schools that join the Trailblazers program. So it's a step up to the same things that you would learn in primary school. We're building on it now, so we're talking about climate change, really disaster preparedness in terms of how you respond. Because as a teenager, you would have enough skills and the ability to learn disaster response skills. So we use a program called Teen CERT, Teen Community Emergency Response Team. So we teach you search and rescue skills, disaster medical operations. So if something were to happen in your school or in your community, you could actually respond as part of the official response program. Then after that, we encourage persons now after they leave school that they join our community champions program. So with our community groups that we have a youth arm called Champions. So you have that progression from very young, from standard 3 all the way up to adulthood. And then we hope that that builds that capacity for the organization into adulthood, because we have these youths that grow up into Red Cross, and it's natural for them just to join the organization when they become adults. Now, there is challenges, right? That seems like a really good, progression that we've created. But of course, there's a lot of things happening in society where people don't have that sense of volunteerism. Of course, it's people grow up thinking that, okay, after school they have to go to work and there's a lot of priorities in their life and they don't see the time to volunteer. But you can volunteer 1 hour per month, a few days per year, right? It's when you have the time. The thing for us is about getting the ability to join the organization as a volunteer or as a member, and also benefit from all the training that is done, because the training doesn't just help us as an organization, but it helps you in home. You learn first aid, you learn disaster response skills. So if something happens in your community, you are resilient on your own. You don't need to really count on any sort of support organization coming in. You will be able to use those skills to better yourself, better your family, and then your community.
Or even if it's something where you would like to provide initial care while waiting on, quote unquote, the professionals to arrive, most likely you'll be in a better position. I didn't realize that it ran such a wide range of things that you'd be learning about. And I think one of the important things is that it also helps with gaining experience. I think so many times we just learn what is in the book, and that is the school experience, as opposed to learning what else can be. And in a space where everybody has the same amount of paper, sometimes they come in like bush, it's almost like, what can you do that is different? What else do you bring to the table? So that is something that I really am appreciative of. But looking though, you spoke about work that is being done outside as well. And I don't know if it's a matter of just training and training possibilities, because sometimes people want to know what's in it for me. But what are some of the other things that are happening with partner groupings, agencies outside of Trinidad and Tobago that
on the global scale? Yeah, so as a global movement, we, there's all different things. All the Red Crosses and Red Crescents are auxiliary, so the programs range wide and vast, right? We have organized Red Cross national societies that their main thing is to provide water because the countries don't have access, a good supply of water to all their population. So you have Red Cross National Societies with water treatment plants that go to communities and provide their daily water supply. We have Red Cross National Societies that have hospitals and run the National Ambulance Service. Even in the Caribbean region, like the Dominican Republic, they are the main ambulance service. You call for an emergency ambulance, and it's the Red Cross that responds, right? So as you can see, the programs are vast. And it all depends on how they work with the state and how their state, identifies things that the Red Cross should focus on and gives them that leeway to do those programs. For us in Trinidad, we focus on that community education and more so about building resilience. A lot of times we hear the word resilience come up a lot, but really what does resilience mean? It's about a community being impacted and being able to bounce back on their own. And that really means a lot of investment in resources, right? So the training, people say, okay, well, as a normal NGO, you do training. But we have made a commitment to work with communities in the long term to really get them to a point where we have measurable increases in resilience. So every time we start a program, like we have the Woodland community that is plagued with flooding annually. Last year, October and November, we did a baseline assessment. So we actually gave them like a resilience score. So we have a commitment of the team, and we form what's called a community resilience group. It's a group of about 30 persons that have committed to working with the Red Cross for the long term, meaning it could be 5-10 years, and getting that community really ready in the event, the flooding happens again. They are better able to respond and not wait for, as you said, outside resources, professional responders to come. Because if a community is isolated, then who's going to be able to get in there? The community has to be their first response. So we've really seen a lot of benefit there, and it really helps us as an organization know what kind of interventions to make, because you could just think about doing a first aid training, a disaster response training, but that may not be what the community actually needs.
But with that in mind, though, and the 2 minutes that we have, how does a community who has a need reach out to the Red Cross, Red Crescent Society to say, okay, this is what we need, can you help us, in addition to any other closing arguments?
Right. So we're looking for communities that have some functional groups that exist so that we can already work with. We've seen it difficult trying to go and recruit people to form a new group. So any community group, it could be a village council, a school group, a sporting group. Once you're committed to making an impact, you could reach out to us. You could contact us via phone, or you can reach out to us via email. The email is very easy, disaster@ttrcs.org, or you can contact us via phone, and we will be able to come, do an introduction about the program, and then get the feedback, and then we're ready to start. We have a target to reach 5 communities in Trinidad, so as soon as any community that's interested, reach out to us so we can start scheduling those meetings and those interventions.
When you say Trinidad, you mean Trinidad and Tobago?
And Tobago, of course, yes. We have a branch in Tobago, and we're very happy to work with communities in Tobago as well.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Kishore, Stephen Kishore, Disaster Management Coordinator, and really enjoying having this conversation on World Red Cross and Red Crescent Day. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me, Dike. Rostant. Thank you so much for joining us.